This is Akashvani. In the program Insights, now we bring you a discussion on rising cases of Nipah virus and ways to curb it. The participants are Dr. Piyush Ranjan, Professor Medicine Department, AIMS, and Lalima Anija Dang, Anchor.
It is said that prevention is better than cure, more so if there is no specific cure for a disease like Nipah virus, which was first discovered in 1998-99. Nipah virus again is in the news. It has made a comeback and we've had 5 cases so far in India alone, of which 2 people succumbed to the virus. A contact list of more than 700 people is being pursued for any symptoms. To know more about Nipah virus, Dr. Piyush Ranjan, how significant it is to know about the Nipah virus itself? Is it because we still have not found a treatment or a vaccine for it, or is it because even though the number of infected persons is relatively less in India, but it has the potential to spread? How would you describe that, sir?
Knowing about a particular disease is always good because it gives us the right dimension of protection. And as Nipah virus, we have seen a few cases of Nipah that has potential to spread further if we don't prevent ourselves from getting it. So it is always better to get the right knowledge about it.
What are the symptoms of this virus? Because I believe that, is it asymptomatic, or let me say, can it be asymptomatic? And when it comes to symptoms, as I understand, some of the symptoms overlap with, let's say, those of dengue or any other viral. How would you describe the symptoms of this virus, Nipah virus?
You are very correct in saying that the symptoms of Nipah is very non-specific. By saying non-specific, we mean that the symptom of Nipah closely overlap with many other commonly known disease. In Nipah, which is commonly known as a flu-like condition that involves lung as well as that of brain. So in this season, a patient of Nipah can have symptoms suggestive of high-grade fever, running nose, upper respiratory tract infection-like symptom, and also affecting lung as well as brain. So patient will have nausea and vomiting, and because of brain infection, the patient will have decreased sensorium. So patient will have symptoms suggestive of altered consciousness, and apart from this, the patient may have some degree of lymph node inflammation. So here and there, one may find some swelling in the neck.
Do we have laboratories which can isolate the virus both in the private and the government sector?
Yes, we do have that. The virus is identified by various virological labs by the test, what we call RT-PCR test. The same principle which was used to diagnose COVID-19 SARS virus. So we have a large number of designated labs. The Apex lab NIV in the Pune. A couple of labs has also been opened in the Kerala, the area from which we have found new cases. So yes, we are very much capable in diagnosing cases of Nipah virus.
Dr. Piyush Ranjan, how is Nipah virus transmitted? It is a highly contagious disease. We believe that it comes from animals to humans. There is animal saliva, there is animal excreta, which can carry this virus. It can also be a human-to-human contamination. Could you throw more light on this, sir?
So mode of transmission is very important to know and understand. As you have very correctly said that the transmission is mostly from the saliva of animal. So there are certain animals that are known to spread this virus. The important one is the flying fox, a type of bat that we know. Number one, and number two is pig, cow, and these other animals are known to be reservoir of this particular virus. So most important or most common way of transmission is feeding the contaminated food. So mostly in the jungle, what we see that some fruits like date palm, these all fruit are half bitten and eaten by the animal, and contaminated food have animal excreta as well as the animal saliva also. So these food, if they are fed by the human being, then these human being can get the infection with Nipah virus. So this is one aspect. The second aspect is the human to human transmission is not that significant as it was in case of SARS virus or COVID-19 virus. Because there is the droplet infection is not an important mode of transmission. It can transmit from human to human only through the contaminated larva or contaminated saliva as well as from the excreta and feces. So such patient, if there is a patient, then we can definitely contain the virus by avoiding the transmission from human being.
In the Western world, there's a lot of bacon
Yes.
and other things, such similar products. Do you think that also needs to be looked into and taken care
Yes,
of?
yes. So another important method of transmission is eating the meat from the animal that are contaminated, especially the beef as well as pig, cow. So these all animal, if they are infected, one can get Nipah virus infection by eating the flesh of this meat from these animals.
So, Nipah virus, as we all know, comes from a village in Malaysia where it was found for the first time way back in 1998. Coming back to the transmission and cure, once it is detected, how does one manage a Nipah virus patient? Because, as you said, it's highly communicable. We must ensure a very high level of sanitization and a very high level of isolation. Could you throw some more light on this?
It is very important to understand that this disease is not that communicable as SARS-CoV used to. Okay, so since there is no droplet infection, so we can easily avoid infection by isolating the patient who has got the Nipah virus infection with Nipah virus. Plus, if we can take some amount of precaution while with the food that we are eating, especially the food without washing it properly, without cleaning it properly, and avoiding the meat from the contaminated food animal species, then we can very easily avoid the infection propagation of infection from one individual to another. So
Yes.
this is how we can avoid it. Yes.
Yeah, yes, we know that millions of pigs have been killed because of this virus
Yes.
many years
Yes.
ago. If there is an infection, is there any residual effect? Because I was going through the notes on the net and I came across that the fact that it leaves some neurological effect on the body. Is it possible? Does it
Yes.
happen
So
really?
there are a wide spectrum of the effect of infection as well as long-term sequelae. So about 40-50% of patients they are cured, considering the high mortality, and among the cured patient there is some long-term neurological sequelae also, and it has also teratogenic effect. So if there is infection in pregnant lady, then the same there is possibility that the baby may contain the infection and will have some sequelae as well as anomaly, congenital birth anomaly also.
So pregnant ladies should be all the more careful.
Yes, pregnant lady should be more careful. And why only pregnant lady? Everyone should be more careful
Gee.
because this particular virus, if we know about it, we can easily avoid it. Prevention is far more possible than it was in the case of a COVID virus.
So, what is the incubation period of Nipah virus? Again, coming to the fact that it's not much prevalent in India, are we equipped to know that, okay, that this is the incubation period, and so a person who's been exposed to, let's say, traveling in the same aircraft as a person infected with the virus,
Yes.
and so detection, when to go for detection. So, could you just explain that, please?
Yes, so you have asked about two different things. First, the incubation period.
Yes.
So incubation period is it has got a range from 5 to 14 days. So why incubation period? What is incubation? So incubation period is the period from or the time gap from which a patient when gets infection first develops symptom. Okay, so this is not the period when actually one should avoid for the contamination or going to a particular place. So this is the period if someone has actually accidentally got himself exposed to the virus, then one should be remain vigilant for at least for the 2 weeks period of time. So we can discuss about treatment also
Okay.
and vaccination also.
Dr. Piyush, are we well equipped to treat this disease of Nipah virus? And what about vaccination? We still haven't found any vaccination for a Nipah virus patient.
Yes, there are few vaccinations that are that has been found or developed for this virus, and that is available. But this is not being used as a mass campaign in our country because this disease is very much endemic, and but in some other South Asian country, the vaccination is being used, but still it is not being used as an important modality in our country. Regarding treatment, yes, the treatment is mostly symptomatic and supportive. We treat the symptom of the patient, like if the patient is having headache, patient is having fever, patient is having a lymphadenopathy, then these patients are treated with fluid and antipyretics, and to some extent, if required, then antibiotic also. But what is more important, that there is no particular treatment which is specific to Nipah virus. So that's why we are not able to cure it fully as of now. And for the time being, prevention is the only way which is more effective in containing this virus.
And Dr. Piyush, international travel has now become very frequent. And we saw in the time of COVID also that how people traveling from, there's so much of intercontinental, inter-country travel, and that increases the risk of the virus spreading. Now, if someone believes that they have come in contact with a Nipah patient, what precautions should that person take?
Best is to remain watchful. In these cases, since there is no droplet or infection through respiratory tract, through respiration or the air that we breathe in, so we can easily avoid. So if you are traveling to a place where that is known to have Nipah virus infection, what you can avoid is the close contact from a patient. Number one, the food that you eat, you can mostly avoid the non-vegetarian food item, especially the beef or pork meat. So because these all can cause the transmission. Otherwise, if you are having normal food, trying to maintain safe distance from the suspected patient, then you can very easily avoid it. It is not COVID where it was once told that anyone who has breathed in will have ultimately COVID infection.
All right. So as we started our program by saying that prevention is better than cure, and we'll wind up by saying that prevention is better than cure, more so because Nipah virus does not have any specific treatment so far, as Dr. Piyush, you just mentioned. On that note, we would not like to alarm our listeners, but add to the information. And thank you so much, Dr. Piyush Ranjan, for informing our listeners about the pros and cons, about the precautions, about the treatment line, and about everything that you could about Nipah virus. Thank you very much, Doctor, for being with us.
Thank you very much for calling. And I would just like to give a message to all our audience. Prevention is always better than cure, and we do not need to get panic. This is the most important thing.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Dr. Piyush Ranjan. Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on rising cases of Nipah virus and ways to curb it. The participants were Dr. Piyush Ranjan, Professor Medicine Department, AIMS, and Lalima Anija Dang, Anchor. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may share your feedback about this program through email at airnsdtalks@gmail.com or WhatsApp on 9289094044.